Hi, welcome to week 5 of the Empress Lessons. I have enjoyed this so much. This is our last lesson of this series. And once again, I get to welcome Empress Victoria, who is here with us and has imprinted this lesson upon my heart that I get to now be her voice in sharing this with you. The goal, the purpose is for you to feel more empowered to become and to stand in the power of the Empress that you are in your world, your backyard, your home, your family, that you walk in confidence, and that the world that you walk in then reflects what's happening within yourself, that you feel empowered, that you feel that you have deep, profound boundaries that feel good to you, that there is a sense of ease, that there is a sense of rest and understanding of who you are. That's who you are, that you are actually claiming your royal birthright as the goddess that you are. That's the intent. And this is what the Empress Victoria has been able to teach me in the last many years, as I've had this really beautiful, profound relationship with her that I get to now bring to the public after the private lessons that she's been giving me. So today, week 5, this is the last of our series, Physical Health with Generational Healing. An Empress does not sacrifice personal time and self-care. And the third is taking a stand when the whole world is crumbling around you. I don't have any notes, so let's see what she says. Let's see what we get to identify and bring in that can be useful for you as you continue your Empress journey. The first is physical health with generational healing. My attention is going straight into what royalty knows very well, is that everything starts at the DNA level. So as we have seen in history, royalty marries royalty. Royalty stays within royalty. They do this not just because of the benefits of land ownership and family relations. They do this because of the frequency that the DNA holds within the family generational line. So the frequency of your DNA is vibrating at a certain rate, at a certain vibration. So much is affected by the generations before you that has made you who you are. And the joy is that at every generation, we have the ability to make our DNA more clear and to evolve that DNA to the next level. So it's a very understood thing that we are always improved and a little bit better. We know a little bit more than our parents before us, our grandparents. We continue to evolve and to grow. So you get to first know, if you don't already, that you have the ability to raise the vibration of your DNA. You can decide that however you'd like. And this affects your generational healing from before, and it affects your children's children's children. So just know that your physical health, of course, we see that there's lots of patterns that continue to run their course with physical health. We have people who have, one example of a million is just breast cancer or breast tumors that is from your mother from your grandmother. It's just in your line. People say, diabetes is in my family. Just consider that actually has been the case, and yet you can stop the patterns. You can stop those channels right within you, and you have the ability to do that. You are that powerful, and it begins at the DNA level. I won't be going into some of those things here, but just know that if you decide that you're ready to really take that on, that you're taking it on for your own physical health and for your family and your predecessors after you. So just saying that out loud, that you declare that you would like that, it will bring it in, and then you will be able to be given those resources of where to go next. There's more to say about that. DNA. Okay, she wants me to share that this actually is a lot more simple than it might sound. It might sound like it's out of your control or that you have to do a lot of work. And yes, it is a consistent amount of work, but it's not hard work. It can be pretty great. Your DNA can actually work with you pretty well, and it's very receptive and sensitive to the things that you do. A lot of it, if not all of it, is your thoughts that affect your DNA. And that's really empowering. It's good for you to know that hear it again if you don't know this, your DNA is affected every day by your thoughts. The patterns of your DNA will continue to stay in the same patterns as long as your thoughts are in the same pattern. If you change the pattern, the DNA is sensitive enough to actually change. It might take some time, but it's not hard work. It doesn't have to be hard work that's out of your control. You don't have to go see a specialist. You might want to see, energetic specialist or whoever you feel called to. Just trust yourself for sure. Just know that consistency of changing the pattern affects the generational healing. And the message that she wants to share is that it's a lot easier and more in your control than you might think. And I really want to say thank you to Victoria for this message, that we are very much not a victim to the generations before us. The choices that they've made doesn't have to enslave us into a victim stance, that's just who I am. That's what my parents gave me. That's what I got going on for the rest of my life. She wants it to be really clear that the simple consistency of changing your thoughts actually really does change the frequency of who you are and will affect the people, the generations after you. So those are the two things, that you actually are very empowered to change your frequency at your DNA level, and that it does get to be with a place of ease and consistency. That's the really key word of changing patterns with simple ease and consistency. Wonderful. Second is, an empress does not sacrifice personal time and self-care. So I put that whole sentence there because an empress knows this. Now, I know that we listen to messages about self-care all the time, and that it's a little bit easier to listen to them than to implement. Hear this, and I say this to myself as well, that this is a place where no other story will eventually exist for you. If you have any kind of space where you feel like this might not be true, you are encouraged and invited as the Empress on week 5 to allow this to be the only story. You get to ask all the questions. You get to be all sorts of confused about the hows, about how that's going to work out. You get to look at all the barriers of how you could possibly do that financially, with your partner, with all of the priorities you have, with all the projects you've got going on. You're allowed to have all the processes of what it takes to get to this sentence. An empress, you, does not sacrifice personal time and self-care. We're continuing to learn that, and I am there with you. And when it comes down to it, it is actually an accessible place of being. I'll just pause for that to really sink in, because truthfully, that's something that many are still learning. And so you might have that one down pat. And if you do, then I pause so that you can then have compassion and bring in the space for all of our sisters and all of the people in the world who are still learning that lesson. I want you to maybe imagine a world where each one of us takes this to heart. Imagine that all of the friends that you have, all of the family that you have, who actually says this sentence, that personal time and self-care is actually my only story. Imagine that, so that there's no overwhelming feeling. There's always just this immersion of self-nurturing that happens, so that there's never, I feel depleted. You're always saying, the opposite. I feel nourished. I feel grateful to do the responsibilities that I have because I've got enough. I've got enough within myself. A really good example is a friend of mine who's a mother who, she says, I just refuse to be a frazzled mom. I just refuse. So she just made it work within her budget that twice a week, no matter what, she has a nanny come for 3 hours a time. Now that's money, and they just put it in their budget. They just like let go of other things so that that is just the case. So twice a week, every morning, she has nurtured self-care. And then, so that's, I think she has like on a Tuesday and a Thursday. On a Saturday, her husband is home from work and he takes the kids. So then she has all morning on Saturday that she has self-care and nurturing and her own projects as well. So 3 times a week, she has scheduled in her budget of there's no compromising. I have time for myself all week long, all the time. And what's really great is that her child has this auntie, this other being that has become part of the family. And he gets to go on adventures all the time with someone else besides his mom. And that is one of my best examples in my life that I will be incorporating as well. I have incorporated as well with what self-nurturing can look like. And, you know, the main reason why people wouldn't do something like that if you're a mother is money. And what she did is just found a way. They just found a way. And they are in alignment with each other as a partnership to say, there's no other way besides this. There's no compromising. What's really great about that is I told that story to another family, and they have now brought that into their family as well. And that has alleviated so much. And the kids in this other family look forward to those times with this babysitter who's become like an auntie for them as well. So that's an example. Utilize it as your own, but more so bring that into your foundation, that this is what an empress actually does. So even if you're ruling a country with all sorts of long lists of things to do, there is absolutely no way you can come refreshed into your world. Victoria, I can only imagine what she had on her plate. And she is saying this, that an empress doesn't ever allow this to be compromised. The third is taking a stand when the whole world is crumbling around you. So the first thing that comes through for that is to give gratitude. Imagine that. Give gratitude that the world will always be crumbling around you. Not that it's always crumbling at every moment, but that is always a possibility, that the world crumbles, that it doesn't have to be something that we don't expect. We don't have to run into this space of, now I'm safe and now everything's okay. That's only one experience of life. You signed up, I signed up for life to help us evolve, to help us to grow. And so why are we actually surprised when it happens? It doesn't feel good, and we don't have to even pretend that it feels good. And yet with this understanding of peace and relaxation, we can bring that into the world that is crumbling and saying, yep, this is what I signed up for, that I will continue to build sand castles for them to continually be crumbled. That is the way it works. This is what I signed up for when I'm here. So that element of acceptance can be brought into any circumstance that comes, any kind of phone call that comes, any kind of news that comes. It is your space of, yes, here we go. We can do this. I signed up for this game. I signed up for this life. And that element of power can be brought in. You don't have to love it. That is not part of the element. It's just this element of acceptance of the world is here to be built and to crumble, to be built, to be crumbled. And I actually love that I thought of a sand castle, because we're talking about castles a lot. and that you are continually building sandcastles. And whether you're the one who destroys it, or someone else comes and destroys it, or the rain comes and destroys it, that is the experience of life. And that there's always a new sandcastle to be built, or there's the slide to go down, or anywhere else on that playground. This is the game. And that element of acceptance can bring you into any place that you ever stand, of any phone call that comes through. And I'm thinking of, scary phone calls, of, any kind of emergency that comes through. Taking that breath of, okay, then here we go. This is the journey. This phone call just began this journey. And here I go now into this world where my whole life has been crumbled, or a part of my life has been crumbled. And I can do this. I can do this. I will always be given the tools. I will always be given the information. I'm completely connected to my own empowerment, connected to source energy as I walk forward in my power to take on this crumbling world. That could be very, very useful. Here's another element of that. This is one that I was able to implement very recently. I'm still learning this one. I'm playing a big, big game right now that is helpful to use as fodder for this conversation. As you get clear on what you want, it's right in front of you, and it could feel really far away, or it could be right in front of you, but there it is. I want you to imagine that there's a light just in the distance, and you are walking towards the light. And that's what you want. That's the goal. That's the focus. So to get there, it's going to stay there, and you start walking towards that light. As you go forward, there are things to the left, there are things to the right, there are winds that knock you to the right, to the left, they have you fall down. There are voices in your ear telling you can't do it. There are huge backpacks that just was put onto you with all of the elements of doubt and fears and insecurities and physical fatigue. That the backpacks are full of rocks of, generations of stuff that's not even yours, and you're carrying. And here you are walking towards the light with all of that. You rest along the way. You have huge chasms, earthquakes, so many things. You have all the tools, and I'm not going to go into all of the tools of how you get to that light, because you know them, you have resources, and everyone uses different ones. The power that I want to connect to right now, taking a stand when the whole world is crumbling around you. Oh, the light is still there, and every time you lift your eyes and look at the light and stay in that place of focus, the more that you learn how to stay there and keep your eyes on the light, it is an amazing place to be, that all of a sudden the wind calms and the voices of people telling you can't do it, it's okay. They can say whatever they want. And as you walk in and you're looking down to see how in the world you're going to get through that huge chasm, what am I trying to say? The cliff that makes it so that you can't get over to get to the ground to keep walking. You got to figure out things, and yet the light is right there, and you just find ways to build a bridge. You find ways. The more that you can look at that light, no matter what circumstances are happening, especially inside, the fears that are just rumbling, let them rumble. Look at them, observe them. It doesn't matter. Look at Look at how much they are affecting you. They're affecting the people in your life. You're hearing them affect other people, all of that. But look how you're just continuing to just take one step, one step, one step. This is one of the most powerful ways to walk in your world as an empress. There will always be that one light that will not fail you. And what's wonderful is that space of gratitude along the way, that you can be so grateful because everything is taking you to the light. Nothing is in resistance with you. It's all serving you. All of the people, all of the circumstances are getting stronger and stronger because where you're going, you're getting more and more clear. I want that. And if you decide that the light is actually take it a little bit to the right or the left, then you follow it because you just got more clear. Oh, that's actually even brighter. That's what I want. And everything's getting you stronger, saying, okay, if that's what you want, we've got to build this muscle and you got to build this muscle so that this circumstances will help build this specific muscle that you still have some fears and doubts about. How about we build that one? And that one's going to take weeks for you to actually build. Let's build that one up, but don't stop looking at that light. Keep going, keep going. Taking a stand, staying in that stand, clarifying that stand. And here's an example of the contrast of that, okay? So I've been looking at the camera this whole time of saying, take that stand and look at that light and let things just go left and right all over the place. But watch what happens if I actually give a lot of credence to anything that's happening. So here's the rumbling that's going on inside of my heart. And instead of looking at the light and taking a stand, I go like this, whoa! And I look and I get myself lost inside of it and I can't see anymore. It overwhelmed me. And I'm going to say once again that you don't ever make a mistake. So if you need to get lost in there, let yourself get lost in there because there's always a way out. You get to trust because sometimes you get to see how dark it really is in there. You want to see that. You want to see, whoa, that is really deep fear. Perhaps that's the experience you want, is so that you can like really, really tap into the power of your fear and just know while you're in there that you can always get back out again. But you don't always know that when you're in there. So maybe you have to have the experience of getting lost in the fear. And that's okay. It's more than okay. It's perfect. Because then that's maybe where you build the muscle of saying, okay, I feel like there's no way out of this fear. And I've been part of this fear for years and years and years. And then when you are ready, only when you're ready, do you actually say, oh my gosh, that actually served me. Now I understand that even as big and as dark and horrible as that was, there's the light. Oh, taking a stand when the whole world is crumbling. So that's an example of first of all, having compassion for yourself, no matter what experience you desire, to get as strong as you need to take that stand, to go towards that light. Another example is people's influences over you. If I'm looking this way at the light and I'm feeling great about it, and here I go, and then there's a person who I really respect. It's the thing about the influences is that's usually people who we love, who have the deepest influence of sidetracking us because their fears come in and we get to honor those. The way that we can honor it is to listen to what they have to say and then see how it goes through your own heart's filter. And yet let's imagine what happens if I actually let go of the glance on the light and I listen to them all the way. I've just given this person my power. I've allowed their fears to now embrace me. I've taken on their fears, and now I'm this way. And I'm not looking at I'm not taking my stand. I'm over here within my own. I've allowed them to have the fears crumble. I'm part of the crumbling now. And I'm purposely not looking at you so that you see that I'm disoriented now. I've listened to someone else. And not just even the people that we love, but articles online and horrible examples of things gone bad and how it's not possible, not possible, not possible. All of this is now taking me all over, and I can stay here as long as I want. I can gather evidence of how it's impossible. I can listen to those people in my life of how their fears are true and real. It's so true and real. All of what they're saying is completely right. And I might have to stay here as long as I want to, as long as I need to get strong and empowered to then say, thank you for sharing with me the full aspect of what I don't want. And once again, I come this way. And what's amazing about coming this way and what you just did and how the two connect is now that I'm looking this way back at the light, right here, you will start to be able to ask the question of, show me examples now of how it's possible. Share with me stories, research online of people and things and experiences of how this light is possible, this dream is possible. I want that now. I've seen the opposite. I've seen how impossible it is. I'm standing on the brink of impossible. Now I'm looking for evidence of how it is possible. It is likely that you might be a trailblazer and that some of the things aren't yet online or that you don't know a lot of examples, and yet the universe is connected to infinite possibilities. So you will then be growing towards the light, and then you will be led to at least someone, something that will continue to keep that light bright. So even if I'm saying all of this and you're like, I haven't actually gotten any examples of this thing that I want being true or possible, that's okay too. Perhaps you're a trailblazer. But there will be something that keeps that light burning if this is something that you're intending. So that the world has permission to crumble around you. And that more than anything, you get to say, it serves me, whatever experience I want to have, so that I get stronger and stronger. But just imagine that power of internal stance. Oh, it's just so refreshing and relieving. And they're my favorite people to be with when you are clear to keep walking. I want to thank you so much for the times and ways that you have done this, and that you want to now play the game of walking towards your light and taking your stands at the next level. Because if you're listening to this, then you most likely are ready to take your stand to the next level and practice this with the next level of crumble that happens in your life. And we'll go back to the first element of this, is that it's expected. So when you're going on your journey, you don't have to be nervous or worried that, what if it doesn't work? It won't. It won't work in so many ways as you continue to let the world crumble. The old patterns, the old world, the old thoughts that you have will crumble. And that's part of the journey. So when you continue on, you'll now be building a new world, a new sand castle. That is amazing. And I congratulate you on taking yourself to the next level of where you're going as you build your amazing empire in your world, in your life. We are at a completion of week 5. The physical health with generational healing, starting at the DNA level. An empress does not sacrifice personal time and self-care, and that you get to have all of the confusions of how that can look in your present life, and how you take a stand that is just true for you from now on. And that you get to take a stand when the whole world is crumbling around you, having that acceptance that that's what you came to do, is to let and allow old things to crumble so that you can walk towards the next thing that you're creating, and that there's that personal stance of walking towards the light of where you're going. I will have one more recording for you, talking about some of the elements of how you can implement some of these lessons, and we'll see what unfolds for you and what feels the best for you. And for now, thank you so much for joining me with week 5, and have a wonderful day.